All right, hello students. So hopefully you guys are finishing up your World Studies assignment number 3, Exploring Africa. Again, one thing that is kind of coming up for some students submitting that have submitted so far, you're finding videos for 5 countries, but you're doing the overviews for all 49 countries. So you're only responsible for finding videos for 5, but you are responsible for doing an overview for each country on the pages there that come after the directions. So 49 countries, total overview. Again, the goal of summer school is for you guys who work in 3 to 4 hours a day. Really, I'd say 4 hours a day. I would kind of best match with summer school on a work for this class. You may get it done sooner than that. 4 hours may be not the time you need. You can get it done sooner. But if you find yourself, oh, I'm getting this done in an hour, this is easy, maybe reread the directions just to make sure you've done it correctly. All right, so again, doing overviews for all 49 countries and finding the videos for just 5 of those 49 that you choose based on the letters of your last name. Okay, so we're starting this week off with or kind of ending this week with, you got your 4th World Studies assignment, and we've gone from kind of a syllabus to looking at the world, to looking at refugee issues around the world. And in this case, you guys are going to be looking at Asia, and most specifically in Asia, China. And specifically with China, what stance or what relationship the United States should have with China in the coming years. And you'll have some options to choose from, but you're going to kind of best choose, or be able to best choose the option after you learn a little bit about China, its recent history, and kind of past dealings that it's had with the world and the United States in recent years. So to get us kind of started on that, I'm going to just kind of go through what you guys are going to be doing, how you're going to do it, and then ultimately what you'll be submitting to me. And this week, and I'll kind of remind you guys of this at the end of the video, you will be submitting this assignment. It'll say on the submission as well, you'll be submitting this assignment on the 20th, and that's Monday. So you'll have, obviously, today, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, even Monday. I mean, you can submit it on midnight on Monday, but the idea is to get this submitted by Monday of next week. So you get some extra time to do it. And by next week, by Monday, you'll be getting your final. And the final, you'll have all 5 days to work on. It's going to be pretty beefy. This will be a preparation for this. This is beefy. But you'll have 5 days to work on it, and spending that 4 hours a day mean that you should have your final submitted by the last day of class on the 23rd. Okay, so let's go through and take a look at what you guys are doing. So the first thing I'm going to kind of just start with here is the directions. And the directions come on a page labeled directions and example paragraph. And what the directions are detailing to you is what reading you are supposed to do. And I'll kind of quickly show you. And here's the directions. So you guys can see you have a page with the directions. It has the prompt there, the question you're going to be answering. What option do you think the United States should pursue in its future relations with China? And you'll have the choice between press for democratic values. That means pressure the Chinese to adopt more democracy. Maybe just kind of overlook democracy or even welfare or civil rights issues in China, and just work on developing better trade and kind of friendship, really, or trade and stability with China. The next one would be to contain China, and that is basically keep China where it is, try to limit its influence in places like Africa and South America around the world. Keep our distance, just ignore China, stay as far away from China as possible, focus on our own things. Or option 5, your own plan, which could be a combination of those options, or an entirely different option that you come up with after doing the reading. All right, and you'll see there too in the directions, it lists what you're supposed to read, pages 8 to 18, pages 19 to 27, pages 28 to 38, and then for the options themselves I just described to you, pages 39 to 47, and I'll show you that reading very quickly here. Let me click the reading. It's a PDF document titled China World Stage, and this is the reading. And so what you guys are going to be doing to kind of get this reading done, and I would say here's kind of a quick example of what that reading looks like. I'm going to start on page 8. Page 8. Good map of China, what China looks like today. And there we go. China in the 21st century. China. So, I mean, really, I'd say, start at page 7 there. That's a good introduction to China. But page 8, it's kind of the official one. And then 8 to 18, 19 to 27. And this gives you all the historical information on China. So you have all this reading, and I know it's a lot of reading, but unless you have a really good book that you've been reading, I think you guys can do it. Especially with the amount of time you have. It's about 30 pages if you do 6 pages a day. You need to be done by Monday, and then could start the writing then even. Do a few more than 6 pages. 6 pages in 4 hours. You could maybe shoot for 10 pages in 4 hours and be writing the paragraph by Friday even. But after doing that reading, another resource I'm providing you guys is this Google slide presentation. And this Google slide presentation has, again, the same directions there for you, but it also has a series of videos covering all the things, or kind of some of the major events that the reading is talking about. This one, the what's called the the British fought these. I am blanking right now. I'll remember them, but British imperialism in China. The Boxer Rebellion. This is the first time the United States participated in a war against. And this video, I'd say, a little graphic in some of its detail, but does kind of cover something that I think gets overlooked by American students and American historians. Just how awful World War II was for the Chinese. Very often we see World War II things in our country, we think of kind of the European theater because Americans fought there. But also a lot of Americans fought in Asia. A lot of Americans fought against the Japanese Empire at that time. My grandfather was one of them. And a lot of Americans here on the West Coast, if you happen to know anybody, good chance they fought in the Asian theater or Pacific theater. But for all the fighting we did against them from 41 to 45, the Chinese were fighting them for almost 15 years. The fighting in China starts much, much earlier, and the Japanese sent a lot more troops there and behaved as awful as they were to some of the captured U.S. soldiers, who were much more awful and much worse to the Chinese that they captured, and cities that they captured under Chinese control and then their control. So the Nanking Massacre, or Nanjing Massacre, is considered one of the greater atrocities of World War II, and something worth learning about if you have not already learned about it. And that kind of somewhat paints the picture of how China and Japan deal with each other now. All right, and so China's Communist Revolution, this follows World War II. This explains it 5 minutes or less. If you're not familiar with communism, you might want to look that up. But if you are, this explains how China became a communist and kind of what type of communism, because they became an agrarian communist state under the leadership of this guy, Mao Zedong. And one of his first big programs he tried to implement was a Great Leap Forward, tried to make China a technological or an industrial power in the world. Was not successful in that and killed millions of people with his kind of forced factorization, industrialization that really didn't produce enough food for people to eat. The Cultural Revolution, and if there's one piece of Chinese history that I found most interesting when I was your guys' age, I think you guys might find it very interesting. It's this, the Cultural Revolution. And what was fascinating about to me as a student was the fact that this revolution in China was basically carried out by high school students. And so what you have to kind of picture is that China at that time in somewhat a process of change, but in some ways to stop the change, Mao Zedong, kind of produces what's called the Little Red Book, and it becomes like a communist Bible. It gets handed out at schools, and all of the students at the schools begin running around. You can see a picture right here of them with those little red books, and they look at themselves as the soldiers of communism, and they need to fight the old customs of China, the old habits, old culture, old ideas. And you can see one kind of similar thing in all those, the 4 olds. So you can imagine being an older person in China right now as being very dangerous when you have a bunch of teenagers running around with their little red books saying that they are the soldiers and policemen of communism. And after a while, these Red Guards, as they called themselves, went from fighting all the old people and burning all the old temples and churches to fighting each other. And really, that's when the Cultural Revolution, as out of control as it was at first, in some cases killing teachers even, that these students began fighting each other. And that's when it got really, what level of out of control it was before it kind of increased by 10. And, kind of an example of what China was like, or the major cities of China were like at that time. Just imagine here in Redwood City, or I'm in East Palo Alto, so East Palo Alto, Redwood City, the various Red Guards would be based on their schools. And so maybe the Menlo Atherton Red Guard starts fighting the Sequoia Red Guard, and the Sequoia Red Guard goes to war with the Woodside Red Guard, and they both attack the Carlmont Red Guard. And that's kind of what was going on, and a lot of people dying and suffering in the midst of it. So over 1 million Chinese were killed in that, which is kind of small by standards in somewhat China, but still, the fact that you had high school kids running around and doing that makes it especially awful. Okay, and this covers the Tiananmen Square protests and eventual massacre. Some informational videos about that, and just kind of current issues in China, which is pollution. So ultimately, you're using the reading, you're using this to get you guys started on a paragraph. And I don't think I showed you guys in the directions here, but you guys will be writing, using these directions, a paragraph. And it's not going to be, the paragraphs you've submitted so far. I want you guys to follow this format, so that way you can make sure you have all the pieces you need to. So I've got it outlined, and you'll see it on your paper here in just a moment. You'll write a topic sentence. You'll write evidence to support your thesis or topic. You'll explain how your evidence supports your thesis or topic. You'll choose a second piece of evidence. And you will choose... or you will explain how that fits, again, supports your thesis or topic, and then ultimately conclude, kind of re-summarizing your main points. Now, this is writing all of you guys should have done by now. You kind of already did it with the paragraphs you've written for this class, or for that you've written so far. But just, one way I always kind of like tell students to kind of picture this, especially if the writing seems a little bit harder than you're used to. When you write a paragraph, in this case, like a thesis-based or kind of topic-based paragraph, let's say the question was, and I think some of you are probably basketball fans, and I'm not so much a basketball fan, but I know a little bit about basketball, especially when I was younger. Who's the best basketball player of all times? And maybe your thesis is Michael Jordan is the best basketball player of all times. Okay, it could be something else or somebody else. That's fine. But how do I back that up? Do I just say it and leave it there and go on my way? Well, if I really want to kind of best prove my assertion, I need to back it up with evidence. And so I could back it up with the evidence. He won 6 world titles with the Chicago Bulls. So that makes him the best basketball player ever. Okay. And I can explain winning 6 world titles far beyond what other, kind of great players have done makes him the greatest. That could be my explanation of how it supports the greatness title. Maybe I choose another one. I think he was MVP like 6 or 7 times. So now I say my second piece of evidence, he was the most valuable player in the NBA 7 times. And no other player has accomplished that. And I can use that as my explanation. Again, no other player has been named the MVP of the NBA that many times. Again, kind of proving his greatness. And I can re-summarize my point there. Michael Jordan is the best basketball player of all times because he, won the most championships and won the most MVP titles, or had the most scoring titles. Whatever evidence I choose, and you'll write those under these spots. That way, you make sure too that instead of me having to tell you, hey, you're missing a piece of evidence, make sure you have the second evidence. You're missing an explanation. Make sure you just write your sentences in underneath those lines. And to help you guys with that, so you can get the best possible sentences on the paragraph paper, I'll show you guys that really quick here. All those directions are telling you to do this stuff. I give you guys sentence frames, and you can use these. So again, write this down and fill in your information, fill in your evidence, fill in your explanations, conclusion. Just do it on this. So write it right here. Write it under topic sentence, write it under first evidence, write it under explanation, write it under second evidence. So that way you can be sure that you have all those things before you submit and aren't missing something. Okay? All right. So, again, if there are any questions, the reading, something in the videos, and especially on the part you're submitting, the paragraph, and using those lines and making sure you have all the pieces you need, a topic sentence, evidence, or first evidence, first explanation, second evidence, second explanation, and then a conclusion. So 6 sentences. If you have any questions on that, be sure to submit them, before Monday at midnight, just so I can kind of best help you with them and make sure that you're getting everything done according to what the directions I've told you. Also, I kind of make sure get this done. Some of you guys are starting to fall behind on the work. Again, you can't get a pass in world studies unless you've completed all the assignments. I'll be kind of contacting some students about that over the next few days, and especially next week, because you are only going to have till the 23rd to get those things submitted. All right, so make sure you do get them submitted before then, or before then, preferably. Okay. Again, any questions you have, make sure to email me. Hopefully, you guys enjoy this. It's kind of interesting and informative, and it will be a really good kind of background builder for the final you're going to be working on. And I'll get that final to you guys by Sunday night, just so you can start looking at it, working on it, because it's going to be big. It's going to be really big. You'll be working on it all next week and then submitting it by next Friday. Not this Friday, next Friday. That will be the final. Okay? All right. Have a good rest of your day, and I hope to see you guys soon.